It's Ray, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is like literally impromptu. The sun is setting. And literally, camera doesn't do it any justice. I haven't eaten all day. Avocado rolls from Whole Foods. And I kind of want to just impromptu talk about a few things that I wish I knew before when it was time to bury my mom. Because I feel like not a lot of people realize that death is business. And the experience was just off the chain. It was like, as soon as my mom took her last breath, she hadn't even taken her last breath yet. That's the thing. And then a nurse had come in with like a packet and was literally asking us where they were supposed to take the body to. And we had, like, my siblings and I had no idea, like, what we were, like, we hadn't planned anything because we didn't know how to, when to, or any of that. I'm hoping that this video is helpful for some people who are not ready. So my mom, first things first, I think cremation is the easiest way to handle the body after someone passes, but my mom didn't want to be cremated. I'm really not sure if she spoke to my siblings about like what she wanted after she passed, but I remember when she and I were in my old place, her telling me like what she wanted, and she didn't want to be cremated. But then we weren't even prepared for the expenses. So first things first, know what you're gonna do with the body when it's time to move the body. Know what you're gonna do with the body when your loved one takes their last breath. People don't talk about this, man, like, because the hospital literally, they need that room, they need that bed. All of this is a business, and they're going to call you and call you and call you until you tell them where to take the body. We weren't charged anything. I think my mom's body was at the hospital for like a couple of days in the morgue. Not the morgue, is that what you call it, where they put the body in a drawer, like the refrigerator? I hate all these terms. My mom wasn't there very long because I'm really good at researching. So when we were given that pamphlet, it was like my mom had not taken her last breath yet. We were preparing for the loss. And then in our heads, we're like, what are we gonna do with my mom's body when she takes her last breath? Not even like an hour after they gave us the packet, my mom took her last breath, and then it was like, we all met at my sister's house. Like, we went there and I scrambled. We all scrambled. We're on Google search. Like, so the second thing, make sure that you speak with a cemetery and a funeral home. It's two completely different things. The cemetery, their plot, you have to have a plot chosen, and depending on where the plot is in the cemetery. So if you want a nicer area where the plot is irrigated, where there's grass and it's beautiful and you can easily access it, that will probably cost more. So you have to have a plot at least selected, and that's with the cemetery. Make sure that you speak with a funeral home, because that's where you're gonna pay for the casket or urn if you decide to go with cremation. That's where you're going to like have all the arrangements and things done, like they handle that. We had found a funeral. I had prayed over this too. I had to pray and ask the Holy Spirit to help me because I didn't know what to do. We were all emotionally heightened, didn't know what we were doing, and I just knew like that we couldn't do it on our own. And the way that it worked out was a blessing. Long story short, we spoke to several funeral homes, and there was one that felt right. And they took care of everything. They handled everything seamlessly. So know where you're going to take the body. That's the first thing. Make sure that you have chosen a plot at least, so that you know where you're taking the body if you're going to bury the body. Or at least have contact with a funeral home so that you know. The funeral homes, I believe that they can I'm not really well versed on cremation. If anyone has ever had a loved one cremated, please share your experience in the comments below. I can't even speak for burial. So we paid for the casket, we paid for the pickup of my mom's body. You have to pay for the body to be transported from the hospital to the funeral home. You have to pay for the embalmment. You have to pay. By the time all of the expenses added up, it was like around 10 grand. And this was the burial, not including watching my mom's casket be lowered. I'm not gonna get emotional. Because you see in the movies where like the families come out, they're dressed in all black, there's seats, and then there's like a canopy, and you can watch the casket be lowered, you say last words as a pastor. All of that would have been an additional, like, I believe $2,000 to $3,000 to watch the body be lowered and to have like seats and to have the whole setup. And so what we were raising was like for the remainder of the burial part. We had covered the plot. I think we had covered one of the other. I really feel like it was the plot, because the plot was more affordable than the funeral home. We didn't have all of the funds for the funeral home, I think. It's a blur, honestly. Like, anyway, my mom's burial costs around 10 grand. I'm approximating, and that's only including, that wasn't including the headstone, and that wasn't including, I forget what they call it, where you sit on the side and then like you watch the body. That's called something. I don't know what it's called. Maybe I'll put it somewhere on the video. It's minimum have 15 grand put to the side if you're gonna bury your loved one. That's all I'm trying to say. If you wanna watch your loved one lowered into the plot, that's like an additional, like, depending on what funeral home you go to, that can be an additional $2,000 to $3,000 to watch the body be lowered. Something that they're already gonna do anyway. When I tell you that it's business, like, you don't let a family watch the casket get lowered, and you're already gonna lower the casket anyway. Because you don't pay for it, they won't tell you what time. They might vaguely, depending on who you go with, they might tell you the date, but they won't tell you what time they'll lower the casket, because they won't want you to be there, because it's something that you have to pay for. But yeah, have life insurance. That's the last thing. And I see now, and I get why, you know, when families do the car washes on the side of the road, because a person dying is expensive. So have life insurance if you can have it. My mom didn't have it because she had cancer, and then so she was denied insurance. My older sister tried to get insurance from my mom, and no one would insure her. So I wish I knew, like, had I known the process of how all this works, while I wouldn't have wanted to, I would have been making calls to cemeteries and funeral homes well before. So if you have a loved one that's dying, check their life insurance, see what that covers. I can't speak from the life insurance experience, because that wasn't our experience. It was all out of pocket. Speak with funeral homes, get quotes and pricing. Every funeral home is different. They all offer different services. Choose a plot, speak with cemeteries. There's a limit as to how many miles a body can be transported from the funeral home to a plot. So look into that as well, depending on what state you're in. States are different. So yeah, just be ready and know what you're gonna do with the body when your loved one passes away. The hospital does give you like a list of resources. Not all of those, the resources that they gave us was just like nothing that we could use. They don't help you, there's no grants, like no program, not that I know of, not in the state that we were in, to help with that, none at all. So yeah, I'm being repetitive at this point. For those of you guys that are believers, pray and ask the Holy Spirit to help you to just kind of make, you know, the right decisions for your loved one. Don't get caught off guard like we did. Everything worked out and was seamless by the grace of God. And then also, know how many death certificates that you're gonna want. That's another thing too. You're gonna want a copy of your loved one's death certificate for things that you handle for them after the fact. So, and that costs money too. I think a death certificate costs like $50 or something like that ish, maybe more. I don't remember. You want to make sure that everyone that's going to be handling your loved one's business has a copy. So we only paid for 2 copies, even though I have 4 siblings, because my older sibling and myself were kind of like handling my mom's affairs. And also, if you're going to do headstone, that's a completely different company. Like, know who you're going to go to for the headstone. And maybe even, I feel like the headstone is like where you can start to like the process. Like, if I had known all the things. Like I at least would have purchased the headstone first and like had that designed and like had done that, and then probably would have chosen the plot. Those are the first two things I probably would have done, like chosen the plot, like let my mom choose the plot. I wish that she could have chosen where her body was buried, but at least she would have been alive to like choose where her body would have laid to rest. So yeah, the headstone. You're gonna want a headstone if you're burying your loved one, and that's one of the most affordable things. It's like $1,000, depending on what. The most basic one is $1,000, right? The flat headstone. If you want one of the big fancy ones, those can go upward of like $5 to $10 grand, depending on how you design it. So you can wind up spending thousands of dollars to bury somebody. Like it costs just as much to bury somebody as it costs to bring somebody into the world, which is insane. Yeah, be ready to have those conversations when your loved one takes their last breath. Be prepared for that. Have someone that's going to handle the business, or have someone to start to begin to handle business before your loved one even takes their last breath. Have the hard conversations with your loved one while they're alive. I didn't have it in me, didn't have the strength in me to have those conversations with my mom when she was alive. It was already too much to begin with. It leaves a whole other conversation because it was a struggle, like to watch a loved one literally die. But yeah, have someone in the family handling the affairs. Someone that's good under pressure, that's good at regulating their emotions. I was really surprised at the way that I was able to like handle the stuff after my mom passed. And I think it was like, it had to have been it was nothing but the Holy Spirit. Because when I tell you I'm the most emotional one of my mom's kids, like I'm the most emotional one. And I was able to get like calls done, get things scheduled. After we paid the funeral home, girl, I was in shambles. I was like, okay, now I can get back in shambles because this is hard. But yeah, those are things that I wish that I knew. Just be prepared to have some callous phone calls and prepare to be upsell. These people will upsell you on things that you probably don't even need. So don't get more than what you need. It's a business. I feel like I'm missing some stuff. I might add anything that I'm forgetting in the description. Lost a loved one, I'm so sorry for your loss. Please share your experience with others in the comments below. Let them know any lessons that you learned that I might not have mentioned, any things that you went through that I might not have mentioned. I'm just glad that we were able to give my mom the burial that she wanted. She did not want to be cremated, and we were able to accomplish that. And if it weren't for the help of our friends, family, and my online supporters, a lot of y'all showed up for me, and I will forever be grateful to you for that. Like, the amount of people that showed up, like family we hadn't spoken to for years, and friends and people that I hadn't spoken to. And people sharing my mom's GoFundMe link. And like literally giving like what they had. Like it was just, my family and I were really grateful. Really grateful. So yeah. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. That's another thing. Because we didn't want to, but we needed it. It's like God blessed us through like all the people that actually do love and care for us. That was special. And then make sure that you have a support system. This whole process has like really been, and God has carried me through all of it. All of it. Like, losing a loved one is hard. I'm not crying for pity or anything. It's just, I guess I'm not at a point where I'm not, I can talk about it without crying. But yeah, if I'm missing anything, please leave in the comments below. I know this is like a heavy conversation to have, and it's really random, but I feel like it's necessary to have because a lot of people don't talk about what to do after you have a loved one pass away. I don't think I've ever come across any content online where somebody talks about this. I hope that this helped.